everyone, it's your casual gamer Meep here, and welcome back to the channel. With the success of the top 5 Michael Myers build video, I thought I would continue and possibly make it into a series. This video will be all about the Doctor and how his various add-ons can lead to 5 great builds that provide versatile gameplay. These builds will vary based on fun, effectiveness, and overall lore, and with that being said, let's begin. The first build is well known to the community, so let's go through it first, and that is the Impossible Skill Check build. With the Doctor, he is one of the few killers in the game that have add-ons that can change the size of his tear radius, which is important for the build. The add-ons for this build include the Calm Carter Notes, which increases our tear radius by 8 meters when Static Blast is ready, and decreases it by 8 meters when it's on cooldown. The second add-on is the Calm Class 2, which has the same effects of increasing and decreasing tear radius, but by 6 meters instead. The perks for this build are Distressing, Unnerving Presence, Hex Huntress's Lullaby, and Hex Undying. Distressing increases our tear radius by up to 26%, and awards 100% more blood points in the Deviousness category. The Doctor by default has a 32 meter tear radius, so when you add both Calm add-ons, it becomes 46 meters. An additional 26 from Distressing brings it to almost 60 meters, which is effectively half the size of any map in general. Having a larger tear radius is important for the next perk, which is Unnerving Presence. Drivers inside the tear radius with Unnerving Presence have a 10% increased chance to trigger a skill check, with the success zone of the skill checks being reduced by 60%. This effectively increases the likelihood that the survivors will miss their skill checks, and because we have a huge tear radius, it'll have a far wide-reaching effect on survivors who are both healing and repairing generators. Hex Huntress's Lullaby applies an additional 6% regression to missed skill checks, which pairs very well with Unnerving Presence, but it's also a token-based hex that earns a token each time a survivor is hooked. Each token decreases the reaction time between the skill check notification noise to when the skill check actually appears. At 5 tokens, the skill check noise alert is removed altogether, which will make it even more difficult for the survivors to hit their skill check. The more skill checks they miss, the more regression is applied, and as the Doctor, it'll give away their location of where they're healing or which generator they're working on. Hex Undying is a bit of an insurance policy because if we get a bad totem spawn with one of the totems, Undying will always be broken first, thus letting Huntress's Lullaby stay up longer than it might otherwise. This build is best used on indoor maps because they tend to be smaller than the outdoor maps, so you can affect more of the map with your tear radius, and because totems tend to be harder to find on indoor maps. Overall, it's a really fun build that is surprisingly effective. The next build keeps the Calm add-ons from the previous build because for this build you'll also want to have a large tear radius, and that is the You Shall Not Heal build. The objective of this build is to make the survivors not want to heal, and keeping them injured once they're injured. The perks for this build include Choleraphobia, Sloppy Butcher, Bloodhound, and Thanatophobia. Choleraphobia makes it to where any survivor who heals inside our tear radius will have a 50% action decrease to their healing speeds. This is the main reason we want to have a really huge tear radius, as it will deter the survivors from wanting to heal. Sloppy Butcher applies the Mangled and Hemorrhage status effects to survivors when they're hit with a basic attack. The Mangled status effect makes survivors take 25% longer to heal than normal, which pairs very well with Choleraphobia, and the Hemorrhage status effect will cause survivors to leave more pools of blood on the ground by increasing its frequency. The Hemorrhage status effect of Sloppy Butcher combos very well with Bloodhound, which makes pools of blood bright red, making them easier to see. It also extends the life of the pools of blood by up to 4 seconds. Sloppy Butcher with Bloodhound will make it so injured survivors will almost never be able to escape and chase because of their inability to hide their pools of blood, and in general it's an underrated tracking combination. As for Thanatophobia, it'll apply a stackable 5% action debuff to the survivors' generator repair speeds, cleansing, and sabotage speeds, slowing them down passively. By preventing them from healing, Thanatophobia's value will only increase in effectiveness, and thus the build comes full circle. Build number 3 is what I like to call Sniper Rifle Doc, and features the add-ons the Interview Tape and the High Stimulus Electrode. The Interview Tape changes the shock therapy cone to a straight and narrow beam that's 24 meters long. The High Stimulus Electrode increases the range of shock therapy by 4 meters, so the beam would go up to 28 meters. The idea of the build is to snipe survivors off their objectives from far away, and hopefully get them into tier 3, which will cause them to waste time by needing to snap out of it. The perks for this build include Discordance, Tinkerers, Surveillance, and Hex Ruin. Discordance highlights generators in yellow every 4 seconds when 2 or more survivors are working on it, and using the narrow beam of shock therapy we can zap both survivors off the generator from a considerable distance, even while chasing another survivor, and thus this will apply pressure to multiple survivors at one time. Tinkerers makes it to where we're undetectable for 16 seconds whenever a generator reaches 75% completion, and it also gives a loud noise notification of which generator activated it. Using the information from Tinkerers, we can zap them with the sniper beam to prevent it from being completed as we make our way over to stop them effectively. Surveillance highlights generator auras in white when they start regressing, and if the generator is touched by a survivor before it fully regresses, then the aura will change to yellow for up to 16 seconds. Hex Ruin causes generators to start instantly regressing at 200% the normal rate when survivors let go of it before completion. Paired with Surveillance and the other generator perks, Ruin will make it so when we zap survivors at a generator, it'll stop them in their tracks and reverse their progress. Unlike the two previous builds, Static Blast can be used in this build to help push survivors off generators, coupled with the Sniper Beam of Shock Therapy. This next build is a bit gimmicky, but Doctor is really able to make it shine thanks to his power. It's Gen Block Doc, and as you may have guessed, it's using perks that block generators. The perks for this build include Corrupt Intervention, Thrilling Tremors, Dead Man Switch, and Deadlock. The add-ons for this build include the Order Carter's Notes and Order Class 2. Carter's Notes decreases the time it takes to recover Static Blast by 6 seconds, and the Class 2 decreases it by 4 seconds as well. By default, Static Blast takes 60 seconds to fully recover after using it, but with these add-ons it goes down to 50 seconds, which is important. As for the perks, Corrupt Intervention at the start of the trial blocks the 3 furthest generators from where we spawn at for up to 120 seconds. These generators are highlighted in white and are typically where the survivors will spawn in at. This will essentially cut the size of the map down because it'll only leave 4 generators for the survivors to work on and for us to patrol at the start of the game. Thrilling Tremors blocks all generators that are not being worked on whenever you go to pick up the survivor. This is a great information perk to use throughout the trial by providing directions on what generators are being worked on because they're not being blocked, their aura will be revealed in the normal red color. Out of all the killers, however, the Doctor is probably the best when it comes to getting Dead Man Switch value, because whenever you hook the obsession, the perk activates for up to 45 seconds. If any survivor lets go of a generator during that time, the generator is blocked to everyone for the remaining duration of Dead Man Switch. With Static Blast, any survivor who is within range of its shock will stop all their actions, including repairing generators. That split second that a survivor lets go of the generator to scream from madness or recoil from the shock will cause Dead Man Switch to block that generator, delaying its completion. The Order add-ons make it faster to get Static Blast ready, so that's why these add-ons are being used for Dead Man Switch value. And if Thrilling Tremors is activated, you'll know where to blast to force survivors off, and thus get Dead Man Switch value out of it. As for Deadlock, whenever a generator is repaired, Deadlock summons the entity to block the next generator with the most amount of progress on it for up to 30 seconds. This perk can effectively help slow down the game and possibly identify where survivors are to use Static Blast at. Although this build might seem gimmicky, it's surprisingly effective, especially as you get later and later into the game where you have fewer generators to guard, like Dead Man Switch has come in clutch sometimes. As for the last build, it basically encompasses the Doctor's background and is what truly makes the Doctor shine, and that is the Pain and Suffering build. The perks are Monitor and Abuse because the Doctor observes and punishes his patients to extract information from them, Overcharge because that is the action he does whenever he performs his Morian survivors, and it's how he treats his patients more or less, he overloads them with electricity. Oppression because his practices are quite oppressive, no pun intended, and because of his creepy laughter and creepy smile, he is quite distressing to be around. Monitor and Abuse increases our tear radius by 8 meters inside of a chase, and outside of a chase it decreases it by 8 meters, and our field of view is increased by 10 degrees. Overcharging a generator by kicking it will trigger a difficult skill check for the next survivor who goes to touch it. If they miss that skill check, the generator will regress an additional 5%. Oppression is also activated by kicking a generator, as 3 other random generators are selected to start instantly regressing. If, however, a survivor is working on one of those 3 random generators, they'll trigger a difficult skill check instead, and if multiple survivors are working on the same generator when it triggers, they'll each get a difficult skill check. Distressing, as mentioned previously, increases your tear radius and awards additional blood points in the deviousness category. The add-ons for this build are the Iridescent Queen, which causes survivors to carry an electrical charge whenever they are shocked with either Static Blast or Shock Therapy. When they get within 4 meters of another survivor, they will both be shocked and their madness levels increase. This is because the treatments the Doctor does to one patient affect his future encounters with his next patients. And the second add-on is the Iridescent King, which applies a multitude of effects, from the red stain being on survivors, illusionary palettes, and doctors, because the Doctor's treatments of his patients are unique, just like the Doctor and his power. This build is meant to deal out as much pain to the survivors whenever they go to repair a generator, and to scream, bamboozle them, and ultimately to drive them crazy. And with that being said, we've come to the end of the video. If you enjoyed and want to support the channel, consider leaving a like or subscribing for more content. In the comment section down below, tell me what your favorite Doctor build was. Also tell me what your favorite Doctor build is to use if you played the Doctor yourself. Also tell me what character you would like to see for the next top 5 builds video for. I'm me+3, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye for now.